Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app, Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible Study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL9608@yahoo.com. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America for obstruction of justice.
120 of the Trump administration. And if the Russia investigation was ever just a distraction or a subplot, as of tonight, it defines and has consumed this presidency thus far, which, by the way, is a law.
I think it's over for Republicans. In fact, I think Republicans in the House and the Senate can breathe a sigh of relief because there's been the appointment of a special counsel, but it doesn't relieve them of their responsibility. And I think it's now going to be incumbent on the Republicans to get together with Democrats and to appoint an independent commission to really look broadly at this so that there can be some kind of public record for the meddling that took place in the 2016 election and for the ongoing activities of this very brief presidency.
It's a really simple question. Did evidence exist of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russian state actors at the time you learned of 2016 efforts?
I encountered and am aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals, and it raised questions in my mind, again, whether or not the Russians were able to gain the cooperation of those individuals. I don't know whether or not such collusion, that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know. But I know that there was a sufficient basis of information and intelligence that required further investigation by the Bureau to determine whether or not U.S. persons were actively conspiring, colluding with Russian officials. Intelligence that was worthy of investigation by the Bureau to determine whether or not such cooperation or collusion was taking place. Russian intelligence activities over the years and have seen it, again, manifest in many different of our counterintelligence cases and how they have been able to get people, including inside of CIA, to become treasonous. And frequently individuals who go along that treasonous path do not even realize they're along that path until it gets to be a bit too late.
Mr. Brennan. 24 of the Trump administration, and the president is hiring a lawyer. It comes less than a week after the Department of Justice appointed a special counsel to oversee the FBI Russia investigation. Sources familiar with the decision tell NBC News President Trump is expected to retain Mark Kasowitz as private attorney on matters related to the Russia investigation. Kasowitz has represented Trump in the past, including, according to the Washington Post, some of Trump's divorce settlements and accusations of fraud against Trump University. We also heard today from former CIA Director John Brennan testifying before the House Intelligence Committee. Early on in the proceedings, the question of Russian collusion came up.
Having been involved in many counterintelligence cases in the past, I know what the Russians try to do. They try to suborn individuals, and they try to get individuals, including U.S. persons, to act on their behalf either wittingly or unwittingly. And I was worried by a number of the contacts that the Russians had with U.S. persons. And so therefore, by the time I left office on January 20th, I had unresolved questions in my mind as to whether or not the Russians had been successful in getting U.S. persons involved in the campaign or not to work on their behalf, again, either in a witting or unwitting fashion.
Is it legally appropriate for President Trump to ask two top intelligence officers something like this?
Well, it's not unlike what Mr. Nixon did that got him in a lot of trouble when he asked the CIA through his chief of staff to go to the FBI and tell them to halt part of their investigation. Actually, Haldeman, his chief of staff, didn't carry out the full instructions, but they certainly were there on the tape. I think that what he's doing is, what Trump is doing is certainly more than a PR effort. If he could get these people to step out and give him some sort of wedge or opening against the FBI, I think he would have used it and pursued it, because he clearly doesn't want the FBI investigation to go forward. So it's part of a pattern showing his intent, and this may come back to haunt him, Don.
Do you think it's part of a pattern? I asked that too in the last segment.
That feel on it, and this is after watching Mr. Trump, and I think you and I would agree with this. He speaks very emotionally, he speaks very extemporaneously, he speaks kind of in the heat of the moment, And that's frankly what endeared him to a lot of people, but I think it sometimes gets him in trouble. And my reflection on those comments is that's probably his intention there. I don't think he actually expected nor was asking that the investigation not go forward. I think he realizes the American people expect answers to these questions. I don't think it was appropriate if he did put pressure on them, but I don't think it rises to the level of obstruction. And, you know, the good news, Brian, is this. We've got Mr. Mueller. He's going forward with the investigation. I think it's going to take a little time, but most of us have a lot of faith in him. As
anybody out there who thinks this is the end of it, as John McCain keeps saying, this is a centipede and more shoes will continue to drop. This is a ball of yarn which continues to unravel. We have not heard the end of what went on with Michael Flynn. We have not heard the end of what happened with James Comey. He is going to have to testify probably in public. Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham told me today he was going to invite him to testify in front of the Judiciary Committee in public, and he's going to have to answer the question that Jason brought up. Why didn't he do something at the moment that this happened? But he's also going to have to tell the truth about this. Look, I don't know if it's going to be a special prosecutor, a select committee, an independent commission. I don't know if it's going to be the intelligence committees that are doing it right now. But at the end of the day, it is very hard in a country like America, where there is a free press, where there are law enforcement officials who are loyal to the Constitution and to the country, to keep things hidden. Yeah. So this is going to come out one way or the other. And my advice to Republicans is let's get it out. Let's get it all out now for the good of the country, the good of the party, the good of the agenda, and even the good of this precedent.
That we no longer just have smoke. We have a raging 10-alarm fire at the White House. As a former prosecutor, what the president did in firing James Comey and then saying he did it to relieve pressure on himself because of the FBI investigation is a classic case of obstruction of justice, a federal crime. Anybody else who did something like this would be facing a federal indictment and a criminal trial.
Betting, I would say yes. Including some who are working in the new administration, or I guess I would say this, that my impression is I wouldn't be surprised after all of this is said and done that some people end up in jail.
Compare the two, that Watergate pales really, in my view, compared to what we're confronting now.
Bob, the only thing I can say is I think we've seen this movie before. I think it's reaching the point where it's of Watergate size and scale and a couple of other scandals that you and I have seen. It's a centipede that the shoe continues to drop. And every couple of days there's a new aspect of this really unhappy situation. And my friends, none of us, no matter what our political leanings are, no matter how we feel about Trump, feel this is not good for America.
What we already knew, Barry, that the President of the United States has a particular skill set, that he's identified an illness in Western democracies, but he has no cure for it and seems intent on exploiting it. And we've also learned that he has no desire and no capacity to lead the world. The G20 became the G19 as it ended. On the Paris Climate Accords, the US was left isolated and friendless. But given that that was always going to happen, a deft president would have found an issue around which he could rally most of the leaders. And he had the perfect one, North Korea's missile tests. So where was the G20 statement condemning North Korea, which would have put pressure on China and Russia? Other leaders expected it. They were prepared to back it, but it never came. There's a tendency among some hopeful souls to confuse the speeches written for Trump with the thoughts of the man himself. He did make some interesting scripted observations in Poland about defending the values of the West, and he's in a unique position. He's the one man who has the power to do something about it. But it's the unscripted Trump that's real, a man who barks out vile in 140 characters, who wastes his precious days as president at war with the West's institutions like the judiciary, independent government agencies and the free press. He was an uneasy, lonely, awkward figure at this gathering, and you got the strong sense that some of the leaders are trying to find the best way to work around him. Donald Trump's a man who craves power because it burnishes his celebrity. To be constantly talking and talked about is all that really matters, and there is no value placed on the meaning of words, so what's said one day can be discarded the next. So what did we learn? We learned that Donald Trump has pressed fast forward on the decline of the United States as a global leader. He managed to isolate his nation, to confuse and alienate his allies, and to diminish America. He will cede that power to China and Russia, two authoritarian states that will forge a very different set of rules for the 21st century. Some will cheer the decline of America, but I think we'll miss it when it's gone. And that's the biggest threat to the values of the West, which he claims to hold so dear.
Tolerated this, and if this story is true, we'd have one of them, if not both of them, in custody by now, and we'd be asking them a lot of questions, because this is unacceptable. This borders on treason. If it is not itself treason, depending on whether the New York Times story is true. But this is a very, very serious situation. We should not treat this lightly, and the fact it was a 10-minute meeting is irrelevant. You can accomplish a lot by way of damaging your own country, assisting an adversary in espionage inside the United States in 10 minutes, and we need to make sure this never happens again. Governments, and they've been trying to do this to us. He would have called the FBI if he'd been acting responsibly, but instead he goes to the meeting, and he brings along to the meeting, apparently, Jared Kushner, and Mr. Manafort, the campaign manager. So we've got the top three people, the top brass of a political campaign at a meeting, and we're supposed to believe that nothing happened? Yet. That's my answer to that. Well, first of all, we're told that the Russians didn't deliver the goods at this meeting, but we know that the Russians delivered the goods big time by November. We are now learning for the first time contacts between not only people in the campaign, but the very top people in the campaign and Russian agents. And to criminally prosecute someone, yes, you do need to show mens rea, some intent on their part to commit the crime at the time of the crime. If they knew that the Russians had obtained information illegally about Secretary Clinton by hacking computers, by engaging in espionage inside the United States, it would be a crime for them to meet with the Russians and participate in that conspiracy. As Professor Butler pointed out, it is also a crime to accept contributions in kind as well as in dollars or rubles or whatever from a foreign government or a foreign national of any sort. And this was clearly assistance from the Russian government being offered at the Trump campaign. It needed to be reported to the FBI. I am very concerned about this, and I do not buy the story that President Trump at the time didn't know about it. It's his own son, it's his own campaign manager, it's his son-in-law, all three of them in the room with a Russian agent, and they appear to me to be violating the law. It's a very, very serious situation, and the White House is not taking this seriously at all. I think we have a lot more to learn about this over the coming weeks.
It says a thing of value, which can be money or a service like opposition research.
So phony. No, if there are not. It's absurd, and there's no basis to it.
With the president-elect just last night, those conversations never happened?
Of course not. Why would there be any contacts between the campaign? Chris, this is all a distraction.
So no collusion whatsoever between anybody involved with Trump and anybody involved with Russia in the 2016 campaign?
No.
How many people have to say that there's nothing there before you realize there's nothing there?
There is no collusion between me and my campaign and the Russians.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign, but I can always speak for myself and the Russians. Zero. There has been no obstruction. There has been no collusion. There has been leaking by Comey, but there's been no collusion, no obstruction, and virtually everybody agrees to that.
They say, oh, Trump, what do I have to do with it? I have nothing to do with Russia, folks, okay?
Now, the details is known on the June 2016 meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and a lawyer from Russia. This is jaw-dropping and being done right under our nose. The Russian lawyer who Donald Trump Jr. met has deeper ties to the administration than previous thought, and her reach may have penetrated all the way to the top of the Justice Department to Jeff Sessions. This started back in 2009 when a lawyer in Russia blew the cover off a massive billion-dollar laundering money scheme that the Russian government was taking money from the mob and the Russian people, funneling it into U.S. banks, and it was being used to buy real estate property in New York. They jailed that lawyer and killed him. Due to that, the United States government passed a law and forbid money from coming into the United States and banned them from using our banking systems. In 2012, it was found out that $230 million of this money that was stolen from Russia was being used and laundered in the United States banks for the purposes of buying real estate in the state of New York. Preet Bharara, the United States attorney in Manhattan, filed a criminal lawsuit and was attempting to confiscate the money and property on the behalf of the Russian people in a violation of the law here in the United States. In March, he was fired by Trump, and 2 months later, the case was settled by Jeff Sessions for $6 million. The same Jeff Sessions that lied about meeting Russians. The same Jeff Sessions who lied on his sworn questionnaire for the Senate. The same Jeff Sessions who lied in his sworn testimony before the Senate and on his sworn FF-86 security clearance form. It's all about money. The lawyers that was handling the case for the Russian mob met with Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner. Then the case was dropped. So to bring this thing full circle, she met with the son of the future president of the United States and offered dirt on Clinton on the behalf of the Russian government. And according to the email, it was from the highest level of the Russian government. Trump get elected, and the U.S. attorney in charge of the case against her client is fired, and the case is ended for a small amount of $6 million. Second, Preet Bharara, the former U.S. Attorney General, who was removed from his post by the Trump administration, was overseeing an investigation into stock trading fraud made by the President's Health Secretary, according to a person familiar with this in his office. This is just the facts as we know it now. What about the things we don't know? What about the meetings that took place after this first meeting that we have no idea what happened? Why did Jared Kushner ask for secure backdoor channels through the Russian embassy so the United States intelligence agencies could not hear? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. Stay tuned, folks. because there will be much, much more to come. And now we have to ask ourselves, not what Donald Trump and his administration is doing or what's wrong with them. We need to ask ourselves what is wrong with us and what happened to our morals that we're going to allow this to happen. Tonight on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100, we're going to talk about role reversal. We're going to talk about youth and millennials leaving the church. We're going to talk about the failure of the community and city governments. But before we do that, we're going to go into the chat room with D Knows and find out what the chat room is saying about the Trump-Russia emails.
Well, Chanel, the chat room has a lot to say about Trump Jr.'s Russian sting. Tonight, with us we have Bernie or Bust, New American Party, NEO 134, and the Party for a Better Christianity. And here's what they're saying. Growing majority MN, savoir-faire is everywhere. Raptavio, great, where's Klondike Cat when you need him? Mad scientist, and is this settlement part of a quid pro quo? You give us the goods on Hillary, and we give you out with all these meddlesome money laundering charges? Stray cat, no. They all have made a living lying and cheating. When asked what are American values, Gore Vidal replied, lying and cheating. Free Divervix. Trump lies more in one day than Hillary has in her lifetime. Backdoor Mr. T, Trump will surpass Hillary. I cannot keep up with all his lies. Militant left. The difference is that Trump and his people are so obvious about their crimes that they may as well go on and confess. At least with those you keep crying about, there has never been any evidence of wrongdoing. Come and talk to me when the Senate hearings are done and Trump and his buddies end up in jail. Hashtag lock 'em up, exclamation point. Lock 'em up, exclamation point, smile. And on a lighter note, Funny Side 88 says, Mr. and Mrs. Brown had two sons. One was named Mind Your Own Business, and the other was named Trouble. One day, the two boys decided to play hide and seek. Trouble hid while Mind Your Own Business counted to 100. Mind Your Own Business began looking for his brother behind garbage cans and bushes. Then he started looking in and under cars until a policeman approached him and asked, "What are you doing?" "Playing a game," the boy replied. "What is your name?" the officer questioned. "Mind Your Own Business." Furious, the police officer inquired, "Are you looking for trouble?" The boy replied, "Why, yes." And that's what's happening in the chat room with D's Knows.
Welcome tonight here in Studio 51. We'd like to welcome our host and our guests. Right here in the Red Room, we have Reverend Rain Francis on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Welcome, Reverend Francis. Thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure, Pastor France.
Well, Pastor, remind me, you're going to have to remind me because you know I always say.
It's traditional that people use Reverend a lot, but I found out the truth about it. One day hope soon. Am I close enough here?
There you go. Yeah, just put your chair up a little bit
okay.
They can. There you go, so they can hear you on the internet radio.
Yeah,
we broadcasting live. Welcome YouTube, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Snapchat. Welcome to Stop the Madness. For the people who's watching our Ustream computer TV, welcome to you also for joining us and our 17 cities that's tied in on internet radio. Not to cut you off, Pastor Francis.
All right.
Go ahead.
You the boss, man. I was just trying to correct the thing about Reverend. You know, it's really not in the Bible that we should be called Reverend. It's Pastor. And I prefer that because there's only one Reverend, and that's our Lord and our God. Because Reverend means to be feared. And I don't want you to fear me, actually, you know. And so don't worry about fearing me. There's people out there that want to be feared, or, you know, I'm not one of them.
Well, so let me ask you something. We just heard our intro coming into a thing about politics and Trump, and I want to tell everybody about we talked about the Obamacare bill, which I'm going to call it the proper name, the ACA.
that the Republicans can't repeal because Obama did something to them that they never thought. He took all their ideas and outsmarted them, and he gave them the best. He gave them the best of their ideas, and more Republicans are on the ACA than Democrats or Independents. Okay, so what people don't understand is that Obama outsmarted them, and I don't think they're going to be able to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But I do know that if they say that Obama did something right, then they have to admit that a person of color can hold stature to that office and hold stature with them, and that's something that they would not do. Okay, so the president called people in and threatened them. But what I want to go to, Pastor, what do you think of our politics that we can turn a blind eye to and we're allowing to happen?
Let me say this first. I learned from your show earlier, in one of your earlier shows, that, and I believe it to be true, that what they really don't like about Obamacare is that it's Obamacare and not Trump care.
There you go. That is correct. It goes back to, we did a show about the Bacon Rebellion, okay? And it goes back to where somebody told somebody in order to stop us, the people from getting together. And this is where race came into America.
And it's racist.
Right. This is where race came into America.
They're
because
jealous.
They told the poorest white person, English person, that they was better than the richest black person.
Well, they're wrong.
And that has been taking place since time coming into America, and that's when race-based first started. But we did that show on that. But my question is, have we really lost our morals today that we're going to allow this craziness to take place where we're going to say that this is the way it is?
It's just getting worse too, and yes, we have lost morals, and every time a great nation falls, it's because of the lack of morals. Moral depletion has come upon the United States of America, and see, when this country was built on in God we trust and now we don't, it's going to collapse.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about that a little bit, because one of the problems that we're facing today in society, and most people talk about, and that's what I want to go into it with you, because we're going to go in depth into it, is the millennials and the kids leaving the church. I call it a failure of the church for not doing God's work. I call it a failure of the pastors, the reverends, the churches, because if the richest pastor is living better than the poorest person that he's serving to, there's a problem there.
I believe that. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I'm not one of those richest pastors. I'm probably the poorest. I'm probably the poorest, but I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he came to save the poor, the weak, and the disillusioned, and the mentally disordered too. And believe me, that's what he sent to me over there at Straightway Community Christian Church, because he sent me all of those that don't want to put a dime in church, and I'm struggling to keep it going, but it's my money, not theirs. And people always worry about a pastor being a pimp. It's showing me, but I still want my Cadillac.
But I understand it. But you know what I'm saying is that, I was reading some before we got the show together, because we broadcast the show off on the station, STMK Radio 100 broadcast the show at the table with Reverend Bill Miller. Okay. And I was listening to some of his broadcasts, and it appears to me that Jesus did his work in the streets. Okay, he didn't wait for the flock to come in, because his philosophy was, if you was already in the church, there was no need for him to work with you because you believe in God's word. So he had to go out to the flock and do his work to the people who didn't believe in the teachings of God.
I agree with that philosophy. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are pretty good about going out there, but they're teaching a fallacy. They're a cult. They're not teaching the truth, because Jesus is God. And I am a true believer that Jesus is God, and that, you see, you got to understand, Jesus came to be an example, and that's why he became flesh. God became flesh so that Jesus could be the example, to show us that the greatest love of all is to die for your fellow man, and he died for us. And still today we are to die, but not in the sense that Jesus died. We are to die to self, that we are not the most important thing in the world, and that the world don't revolve around us singularly, and like it's all about I and not about you. With me, it's about you, and more so than myself, and that is the die to self.
When you go back to this with the millennials leaving the churches, are the millennials, I know when I was growing up and most people was growing up, their parents
okay, because we're going to talk about this too, single parents and role reversal, and we're going to come back into this. But their parents installed the church into them and brought them before the Lord and took them into Sunday school. So due to the fact that the underlying problem may be the breakdown of the family.
True that.
And the initial culture of the family, which is not in a religion mode. What do the church need to be doing to bring them back into that line and getting that culture of having them come back into the church?
Get true to self, get true to God. There's so many fake Christians out there that makes us look bad. You know, I call them all professing Christians and not true Christians. Because a lot of people want to say they're Christians, but they're not acting like a Christian should act. And I don't mean a Christian got to be so holier than thou.
Okay.
You know, because a little bit of alcohol is all right. You know, it's not, you know, some people believe that's such great, bad sin, but the Bible don't say that. You know, a lot of things that people like to say is a big sin isn't. And then there are things that they want to say is no sin, and it is. So we got to get it right. You know, we just need to practice getting it right. Study to show yourself approved.
Well, you know, to go back to the church, the real failure of the church is to replace the parents and keep the community intact. So, you know, when we allow our communities and our schools to go down the way it is, without the church and the pastors standing up, taking the lead, where are we going to be in the future?
We're going to be in hell. We're going to be destroyed. It's just a downward trend to destruction, and the family has to get better and get right. You know, we just haven't raised our children right, for one thing.
Right.
We need to be able to discipline our children, but we got to know how to discipline them right. Like I used to tell my wife, quit telling the kids you're going to kill them. Because a police officer come to your door and you hollering at your child, you're going to kill them, you start beating on them and stuff, they're going to arrest you.
Well, you know,
you don't got to have self-control. The Bible teaches us to have self-control, but we've lost it.
Well, you know, there's a passage in the Bible, and you know, I don't want to get religion and stuff to be quoting it, but there's a passage in the Bible that I believe
why not?
Really go into what we're talking about right here, because the real root of the cause of violence is the breakdown of the family and marriage.
I believe that. I've been married going on 50 years now.
Well, the Lord put, and what everybody don't understand, the Lord put Eve here as Adam helpmate. Okay,
right, to help me.
And man is not supposed to be by himself.
True.
Because that's why he got woman, because woman's supposed to help him fulfill the words of the Lord.
Woman is not supposed to be by herself either, but you know, we have to learn to submit to each other when we're married, especially.
Well, we're going to talk about submitting too, because, you know, I had that talk sometime, but everybody don't understand what submit means.
Right.
Because there again, the scripture says that a wife should love her husband as Jesus loved the church.
Or a husband should love his wife
right,
as Jesus
right,
loved his
but the Lord and Jesus put the man in charge of this, because man was here first. And under dominion, God told man that he was going to rule. That's why he was able to name every creature that was put on earth.
Right.
Okay. God told him, you will rule everything. So everything he brought before Adam named elephant and gave him a name. And if Adam wanted to get rid of Eve, he couldn't, because he had to actually suffer pain for Eve, because the Lord took his rib and made Eve as his helpmate. Okay.
Yep.
So when you go into submitting, when I say submitting and do the proper thing under the,
it's got to be submitting to righteousness,
but right. But if the man is following the word of Christ,
being righteous,
being righteous, and he's following the word of Christ, he's supposed to lead. Because if you go back into that scripture again, it says to the wife, if you want to know something, ask your husband, not the preacher.
Right.
Not nobody else.
Your husband got to be a righteous man.
Well, he has to be a follower of the Lord.
Too many people are getting hooked up with the wrong person that are not what God wanted them to hook up with.
But that's what I want to go back to the church as the community. Look at Tamir Rice's situation. The church is gone. I remember during the riots, Reverend Cabinets, you go down 105th, you got 6 mega churches right there. Yeah. Those pastors were a factor in life, the community politics, anything that happened, the pastor was the forefront to come back. Just look at Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was the forefront of the civil rights movement. You go back into, you want to go to Malcolm X, but Malcolm X was also almost, we want to say, I don't want to say he was a reverend or a pastor, but he went behind Elijah Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad was teaching the word of God.
You talking about Elijah Muhammad of the black Muslims?
About the black Muslims, of Allah.
No, he wasn't teaching the word of God.
So what you saying? He was
teaching fallacies. He was, I like Farrakhan because Farrakhan wrote a book called Prophet of Rage, and he really straightened all of that out.
But didn't Farrakhan get his teaching from Elijah Muhammad?
Farrakhan somehow went and got the truth because there was they was teaching that the devil was Yaqub and that the white man was of the devil. What?
There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, school me. So anyway, though, there was a whole lot of fallacies being taught back then in the 60s, and I didn't know what was going on back then. I didn't know that it was all just a bunch of lies. And Elijah Muhammad, the one that started the black Muslim movement, he was a false prophet for sure. He was building up his own kingdom. And just like a whole lot of these so-called preachers and whatever they are, they're building their own kingdom. They talking about kingdom building, God's kingdom. It's all about themselves, and they just getting richer, and they ain't doing it according to the word of God. They become making the church a business. And behind closed doors, they doing all kind of ungodly stuff, homosexuality. Well, I heard about a preacher getting stuck in some other man's rear end out in Akron or Lorraine or Leary.
But see, that's what happens when people do not understand the church. Okay, where you think that the priest is the person that goes off into everything and isn't supposed to be questioned.
I say question me, and I tell the members of our church, don't be afraid to question me. And I'm not always right, and I'm not perfect, that's for sure. And if you see something you want to say, hey, Pastor Wayne, I don't think you're right there, then come on, bring it out, and let's go to the Bible, and let's see if I'm right or wrong. That's what I say.
So I want to ask you this question right here, Pastor, for everybody here. Since we're sitting here in the Red Room with an esteemed guest out of Cleveland, Ohio, Pastor, single-family moms, everybody, they get a bad rap.
I got a bunch of them.
Right, they get a bad rap. A lot of single-family moms, and we're going to talk about this role reversal thing that we wanted to go into also, they playing the cards that they was dealt, okay? Society, for whatever means you want to go back onto back in the 60s and 70s, broke up the families because you couldn't get help unless the mother was single with the kids and the male couldn't live in the house. Then you had the draft, okay? Then you had the drug problem. Then you had the breakdown of the educational system, okay, where it pushed the female further ahead and pulled the male back, okay? And I know a lot of people don't understand that, but we're going to talk about that because I want to go into the situation right here, the school to the prison pipeline. And I know you're familiar with that.
Not really, but tell me
well,
about
when you go to the school to the prison pipeline, it goes right here to.
I know about modern day slavery with the prisons.
Well, this is basically the same thing that's going on, but you have to look at this. The school to the prison pipeline starts right here in about the 7th or 8th grade. Okay, 70% of kids that get
them in jail.
right, 70% of kids that get expelled has a problem with the justice system, or they go into the justice system. Okay, so when you look at that number alone, if 10 kids get expelled from school, and most of them are black males, okay, who have problems, ADH problems or problems from lead in the water, lead paint. I mean, there's a lot of factors in the community that we haven't dealt with, okay, and it goes back that we haven't dealt with it for years.
It's anger management. What's making the kids angry?
Well,
parents,
the
dysfunctional home.
Right. Well, that's where I'm going back to the dysfunctional home, the single mom. Okay, if she has to work 2 jobs, then who's raising the kids?
True, but these women need to quit making babies. What's wrong with them? Don't they know how to use birth control?
Well,
me and my wife been together since we was 15 years old, and we got busy early. But I knew how not to make a baby. I didn't make a baby till we got married.
But could it be the education? And you have to go back to the education, because if you go back to
Hey,
Planned Parenthood,
what is education? Don't need condoms? What's so educational about knowing how to use a condom?
but most people don't even know what
Or
a condom
jump
is.
out.
Some don't even know what a condom is.
What? Well,
See,
can,
see, if
can
you,
they be that stupid? I mean,
yes, but see, we're assuming, before the village took care of the kids. Okay.
Yeah, well, there still needs to be a village to take care
Well,
of the
there's no
kids.
village here. The breakdown.
I see what you mean.
The
but,
breakdown
you
of
know,
the breakdown of the community. Let's go back to the breakdown of the
the
community.
church should be the village. We should. There's a young man just got shot, and that's supposed to be a member of our church. His mama is pretty active, but she's like really not doing what she should be doing. I'd say, but I hope she ain't hearing me. But she needs to be doing more righteously with her children at home. She too busy looking for different men instead of settling down with the good man that God tried to put her with. I tried to tell her to settle down with that man, and she always fooling around.
Right, but you have to also know one thing is that no woman, and I shouldn't even be saying this, but no woman should be trying to choose a man, looking for a man. If
But
God,
they do. Why do they?
God was, but there goes back to what I'm
They
talking.
can't wait. They act like they gotta have a baby too. And I told these young girls like, you just had to have a baby, didn't you? And I told one the other day, well, yeah. And I said, now you know, don't you?
But that's
yeah,
good.
Don't
That
want
go,
to have no more. But right, guess what? They're gonna pop up and have another one.
right, but that goes back to the breakdown of the family and the community, because if you teach your children properly, remember the other day when I gave that speech when we was at Great Albert Senior Church, and,
Oh yeah,
and
very
I talked
good, man.
and I talked to them about this.
You got some preacher in you too.
When you fail, when the community fails, so this is what everybody don't understand. When I was raised back in the day, the neighbors, the community took care of everybody. See, people talk about the Black Panthers as if they were hoodlums running around. Okay, the Black Panthers, the Black Nationals, Ahmed Evans, and ones in California, they fed the community. They kept the drug dealers out of the community. They stopped the old ladies from being robbed. They stopped the kids from being molested and escorted in the parks. See, you don't hear none of that good stuff that they did. Huey Newton, how he fed the community and the poor people that couldn't be fed, how they had a community center that people can go to, how they went and protect the elderly people in their homes. So you don't hear about none of that, okay? And when the community fails to protect our own,
they got a good documentary now on Netflix, I think it is.
Right. You should. Everybody should see that. I've seen that one.
Amen.
Because if you go back into the 60s and 70s, when Miss Johnson told Sean to pick up that piece of paper, Sean stopped, picked up that piece of paper, walked on. I didn't get smart, because if I got smart, Miss Johnson getting smart down the street.
There was a Miss Johnson.
Then my mama whooped me. Okay.
Did you know Bimba?
Yeah.
Bimba Johnson.
But you have to remember that back then our kids was taught to put Mr., Miss,
right,
Auntie,
respecting,
Uncle. There was no James, there was no Wayne, there was no Shine. It was either Mr. Shine or there was respect. Because if you don't teach kids respect in the house, then how you expect them to respect authority?
They don't respect their parents.
So how you expect them to respect police officers if they're not going to respect their parents?
Well, because see the children today, they don't respect their parents. And I was tutoring over at Robert Fulton a few years ago, and I'm listening to a child on the phone cussing her mother out on the phone in the principal's office. And they just sit there and allow it. In my day, they wouldn't allow that.
Right.
But I guess that freedom of speech has just gone a little bit too far.
Well, I want to go into something for a minute, because I was just looking at some stats and the chat room came up, and I was looking back at something. I said that the school to prison pipeline started earliest the 7th grade. We have a police commander in the chat room that has corrected me and said that no, the police to prison pipeline start earliest preschool. Okay, because you have kids that are 8, 9, 10 out there, 6, 7 years old, out there committing crimes, okay, and running around. And the problem is that we have allowed our politicians to make prisons popular and profitable.
It's peer pressure with some of the kids today.
But when you put money in prisons, it's more. Now can make
It's
a
big
buck
business. It's
off. I can
big
make a buck
business.
off your kid, and if
Oh,
I can
yeah,
make a
oh,
buck
yeah.
off your kid, then I'm going to, instead of trying to rehab your kid or trying to put your kid into school, I'm going to put him in a detention home or into a private prison. And it's already shown that if a person go to prison at an early age, when he gets out, he will return almost 95% of the time.
Right. That's why they do that.
Or now he gets into a situation where he is stealing, okay, and he goes to the detention home. When he comes out, he's going to graduate to burglary and ultimately murder. And those are statistics that it speaks really, really well, because it says under some of that statistics that a kid expelled before he's in the 12th grade is more than likely, 2 to 3 times more likely, be disciplined through the criminal justice system. He's more times likely to have a run-in with a law enforcement officer 97% of the time. That's something to think about, because, you know, Ted Ginn got that school over off St. Clair.
Right.
And he graduated 500 young black men. I'm really proud of Ted Ginn.
Me too.
I'm going to get him. He's going to be coming to the show.
That'd be a great
And
thing.
he really doing good work. And we're talking about 500 out of thousands, okay? When you go to John Hay, you go Collinwood, Glenville, Shaw, East High, Kennedy. They're only graduating 3% of the senior class. That's unheard of, okay? We got, as a community, has to do something about that. That's our future. Those are the people that's supposed to come and take over the ship.
Right.
And
Right.
if they're not coming to take over the ship, then what we're going to do?
We're gonna have a totally collapsed nation here.
And then you have to look at this modern day, when you make prisons profitable. You know, and everybody say modern day slavery.
Yeah,
But
it is.
modern day slavery was created, and I'm gonna say this, back in, what's that, 1676 and 1876, after the Civil War. Okay, because the North had to take these uneducated Africans and they had to keep them in a slave mind, so they put them in slave institutions called public schools to re-educate them, to keep that slave thinking, so they wouldn't be talking about, hey, we want to be part of the country. So that, I mean, that comes all the way back from there. When we go into that and we go into the educational system, that was the failure of the educational system in the beginning, because it wasn't teaching the African slave to be a free man. It was teaching him to be a slave living by the colony's rules, instead of teaching him how to make rules and do things of his own.
I wonder if our children knew more about our black history, would they do better now? Because if you knew your past, you may not want to go back to it. You might want to keep going forward instead of backwards.
But see,
What's that State of
right.
James? What was that movie?
But see, somebody said that right here in the chat room about the projects and everything, because you have to understand this. Black people were workers. Okay, and I'm gonna say it the right way. There was workers. The United States was built off the backs of free labor. Okay,
Yeah.
it goes back into at the time when people was coming over here from England before the United States was even established. They was called indentured servants. Okay, and but they was, after 5 years of paying back their money for coming over here, they was sent off and they was let go, and they was going on their own. Okay, Africans wasn't given that chance. Okay, and I remember something Michelle Obama said, and everybody got up in arms, that the White House was built by the hands of Africans, and that's true. There was other people there, but most of it was free labor.
And
okay?
Masons.
And right, well, you go back into the Masons order again. The Masons made a man better.
They did the planning.
Right.
But
they was
black
master
man
builders.
They did the labor.
They did the labor. So when you go back into what I'm saying, the increasing prison population, now that we have made prisons profitable, the United States have more people in prisons than anybody around the world.
They want to keep it like that too.
Anybody around the world. And I want to say this because 60% of the prisons are black males and Latinos.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And it goes back into the 80s when we had.
Why is that? You know,
Well, it goes back into the disproportion of the crime, because you have to look at this.
It's money, you know.
Well, not only money, but because if I had money, like OJ, look
that out.
look at OJ.
And see, OJ don't even want to be black. He don't even claim to be black. I heard that
He
somebody
never
asked
did.
him, was he black? He says, no, I'm OJ.
Well, right, because OJ never went into in the 60s and 70s when we was in Black Power and in the struggle.
He wasn't struggling with us.
OJ went on his ability to get out. That was the biggest thing of young black youths in the projects, because they put everybody in the projects. And what everybody don't understand is those projects used to be Army barracks. 55th and all those was Army barracks, and the federal government was moving out of this area, so they put the blacks there, okay? And the village wasn't bad, because 55th was really blowing up back then. You know, Carnegie, Superior, Euclid, that was the place to be before the riots.
Right. The Majestic Hotel over there.
Right. So when you look at that,
you read about that great writer, that library on Superior named after that writer that lived in Cleveland for a little while. Oh God, come on.
I would have to know. We got so many good schools, and like Harrison Dillard and Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean Jesse James and everybody coming around. Jesse Owens.
I've been reading his autobiography too. There's a library on Superior there, right there, about 102nd and Superior. See, this old age gets me when I get these brain freezes like that.
Anybody? Robert, hey, Knox, thank you for joining us. Give me 1 minute right there. STMK Radio 100. Hey, thank you for calling, because we want you to come there. Thank you very much. We was just talking about prison, the school, the prison pipeline. Yeah, that's correct. Well, before you try to learn something, why don't you just tell us what you think about it?
Langston Hughes.
Well, go ahead. Tell us what you think about it.
Well, keeping it 100 then. Keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100.
I think that the prison system in itself basically isn't suitable enough to basically be able to allow individuals accessibility to rehabilitation. Despite them having like maybe educational opportunities in place or certain programs to deal with apprenticeship, the recidivism that deals with individuals going back to prison indicates that there's a problem.
Well, wait a minute. Is the problem is that they're not when they get them in prison, they're not trying to rehab them and educate them. They're just trying to house them.
They're trying to use
them. That's a good question. That's a good question, but maybe the problem starts before prison starts.
Well, we just
like
at home
economic.
Okay, we just
social and economic disparities.
Right, we just talked about that the breakdown of the family, the breakdown of the church to take the place of the parents, and the community not coming in to take care of the kids. We talked about that earlier. So I'm glad that you called in and you're on the air with us, because we have other calls from San Diego, but I want you to stay on the line because you act like you understand about the Bacon Rebellion when I just told them about 1776 and how that came up. So go ahead and give us your philosophy of what you see, so everybody can understand that maybe what the community's looking for. Instead of listening to me talk, let's get somebody in the community to tell us. So go ahead and tell us about it.
Well, first and foremost, I know that you're more than qualified to basically share that information with your audience, but from a novelist perspective, when you make a correlation to the Bacon Rebellion, it deals with a situation where you had what you would call Native or Indian or African Americans or throwback from European countries that they pretty much exiled and basically brought here as indentured servants. When they rebelled during that time, they rebelled because they all shared the commonality of being socially and economically displaced and oppressed. Once the powers that be actually realized that there was strength in numbers in them forming an alliance, they set up a system that would divide that alliance.
All right, and break them apart.
They broke them apart. It's similar to today. The same system is covertly functioning to the point where it's the distribution of wealth, the accessibility of certain things in society, even when it deals with history, the truth, where you still have the same group that has been displaced since Bacon Rebellion.
So
now,
no, go ahead.
Now, when you look at today and you see what's going on in society, most individuals pretty much would demonize it. But if they were in Virginia and they were able to observe the same thing back then, you would see commonalities within society based on the lower caste systems actually being oppressed. So you're going to have crime, but you got to still have individuals who are going to look out for the best interests of those individuals who control the power structure,
right?
So that they can never actually be challenged as far as equality is.
So right. So what you're saying is this: if I was hungry and you was hungry and John was hungry and Mr. Big sitting up there eating steak, we would all know what hunger feel like. So we would all stick together and say, "Hey, we want to eat too."
Right.
There you go.
And we're going to go and take your steak.
Right. There you go. And I, that's what we was talking about earlier. And I was telling the pastor earlier when I read some passages out of the Bible where one I remember in the Quran that said that until man takes his rightful place in the village should be cursed. Okay. And what everybody don't understand is that when the curse came upon the village, that was because man, who was supposed to lead the Lord's lambs and the church, was taken out of the church in its place, and women was filled into place in his role.
Right.
Okay. So that means that all the teachings of the biblical teachings that was done in the village has been turned upside on their head.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, when the white man keeps putting us in prison, these black men that don't know how to stay out of prison, and it's hard for a lot of us because they feel like they gotta eat, and they feel like they gotta have this and they gotta have that. When we really don't have to have it, we need to learn how to sacrifice.
But dear again, Pastor, I want to say this: is it really somebody else's fault when I victimize my own people? When I victimize kids, when I victimize the village should come in and stop me. In the old days, the village used to take that person out and hang them themselves. Okay, they didn't wait. They didn't wait for anybody else to come down. Remember, I told you earlier in the conversation, everybody in the chat room and everything. Earlier, I told you how the Black Panthers and the Black Nationals and all of them came and took care of the village and fed people and stopped the crime. Okay, black police officers. They was put on the police force to ensure that the community got treated with respect. Okay, they didn't go on the police force to be part of the police department. They was put on the police force to ensure that the community got respect and was properly treated because that's the way they was treated. So they wouldn't allow that to happen. And that's been reversed today.
I think it comes with training, and we got to learn how to control ourselves. We got to learn how to know that we can do what we want to do or what we need to do.
But it goes back to education.
Yeah, we need to educate ourselves.
Who's educating? Who's educating? See, it goes back to what I told you before when at the end, I don't know if you heard us, caller, but I said at the end of the Civil War, the problem with Lincoln and the North was they had to educate the African to still have the slave mentality. And that was the public school system. That's why that's a failure.
Well, we got to learn that the education that we need is not necessarily public school education. The education we need starts at home. We need to teach people how to be right parents and and how to correct our children without trying to kill them.
But you said one thing there, parenting. If there's no one at home, this is where I'm going to here. So wait a minute, caller, don't leave yet because I want you to understand this.
I'm still here.
Okay, this is where I'm going to here. If the child cannot learn at home the proper things that he's supposed to learn, then what's going to happen to them when they go into the streets or when they get older? Okay, that's when the breakdown.
They're gonna end up in jail.
Right, that's the breakdown of the family. See,
and that's what some people want.
When they broke the family
the
down.
rich man, the man with the money, that's what he wants because that's how he keeps his money. When slavery ended, the plantation owners down there needed somebody to pick their cotton.
Right.
Because they said, how are we going to keep this going if we don't have them slaves down here? So they invented ways to keep slavery going and indentured slavery, you know, where they had to buy food from them and they overcharged them and everything, kept them poor and kept them coming back to them, kept them having to work their plantation, picking their cotton when they didn't know how to do it on their own. And if they did try to grow a few crops on their own, they was overcharged for every little thing that they did, and it just kept them poor and kept them in slavery.
Well, Economic Mob, thank you for calling into the show, but we got to go pay some bills, so I want you to stay tuned into the show.
I appreciate you giving me an opportunity.
Every time,
okay?
Right? Every time we're gonna get you into the studio. Also, when you get up here to Cleveland, we want you to come into the studio. I want everybody to know that we got a lot of good things coming on STMK Radio 100. We got some new shows that's going to be broadcast. But on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100, we're going to keep you informed. So thank you for calling us, caller, and stay on the line, stay in the chat room, and stay on the social media with us, and check us out. We're going to go pay some bills, and we're going to be right back. And I want everybody to know that there's a lot more to come. So stick with us until we come back off this break.
Parole hearing. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. A Nevada parole board is allowing O.J. Simpson to go free in October.
Thank you.
They cited Simpson's compliance with prison rules, his lack of prior convictions, his low risk of committing another crime, his community support, and stable release plans.
I wish this would have never happened. I apologize to him at my sentencing. There's nothing I can do about this kind of media circus that's going on right now, but I could do something about the whole thing in the beginning.
O.J. Simpson was convicted of armed robbery in Las Vegas after being publicly criticized by President Trump for recusing himself from the Russia investigation. Attorney General Jeff Sessions declared he still loves his job and plans to stay on. The frontman for Linkin Park is dead. A coroner spokesman in Los Angeles says authorities are investigating Chester Bennington's death as an apparent suicide. He was 41. I'm Ed Donahue.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Yes. Cool. You okay with this? Yes. And this? Yes. And what about this? Yes. Ha! Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower head.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico.
And now back to John with the weather.
Yes, Andy. Tonight, a big storm. Storm this! Get the soccer offer from Pizza Hut and Pepsi. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, Pepsi the soccer ball. Don't miss the Pizza Hut and Pepsi soccer offer. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. What about the weather, Eddie? Don't resist and call 19,000 now.
My brother Mitchell, he got messed up when he was about 11 years old. Remember the rape thing down at the Coastal Gardens? You can still check that out. There's something about the sticks and that rape. It was a big thing in the news in Cleveland here. When they was trying to convict him. But, in fact, I don't think my brother was alone there, but, he spent some time.
Hello?
Hello, sir. I hear you having problems putting together your new kitchen unit.
Oh, yeah, the instructions say that.
What now?
The instruction manual. It makes absolute...
Stop reading that.
Well, what would you suggest I use?
I suggest you use the fact you're a man. Huh? Guys who got pride never relied on no guide, sucker. I'll give you some step-by-step instructions. Buy Snickers, remove wrapper, bite chocolate, and get some nuts. Go to getsomenuts.tv for more Snickers.
Keep it 100 with your host, Sean L. Lit and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100, 100, 100.
Welcome back with us at Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Welcome back with us at Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. I'm your host, Sean L. As we was talking earlier, we was talking about the school to prison pipeline. In Studio 51 with us now is Tone the Stone. Welcome, Tone the Stone.
Keep it 100. What up, everybody? I'm back.
Yeah, you are back with us, Tone the Stone. And we have Pastor Wayne Francis in the house with us also.
Yeah, I'll say keep it 100 too.
Oh, yeah, we always keep it up. Our last caller, I want to say this for everybody. That last caller from Arizona who's listened to us on internet radio, he was really, really averse of what he was talking about. And that brother, we're going to have to get that brother to call back in because that brother was really, really sharp what he was talking about. But on the phone with us, we have our law enforcement coordinator. We got the Sax Man. Sax Man, what's up with you?
What's happening with you, Sean? Sean, how you doing? How's that the phone?
Hey, everybody doing all right?
Sax, I think we're going to have to put an APB out on Doug. I think
yeah, Doug ain't trouble again.
Yeah, I was going to ask was Doug in the studio today?
Sax Man,
last week.
Sax Man, we had a caller that was just on the phone with us that really, really set it out, man. He was really, really into the prison, the pipeline, and the community, the breakdown in the community. And what we want to ask you as being a law enforcement extraordinaire, what is going on with the breakdown of the community as far as not handling their business when it comes to our millennials and them committing crimes?
Well, it's what I said a long time ago on the show, Sean. It starts at home. It starts with
what I've been saying. Absolutely.
You know, it starts with parenting.
That's right.
You and I, and the pastor. I don't know how old Tone is, but I can honestly say that at least the three of us was raised with the iron fist, a belt, and with discipline.
And a paddle.
Not only that, but see, not only that, but our parents always talk to us. I remember my mother and father used to always talk to me and say, "Son, if you want to do well, you gotta graduate high school and you gotta go on to college. There's things that you have to do to be successful. You can't be successful without an education, without a trade, without training. It's impossible."
But isn't that a failure of our community leaders? I mean, I want to say this.
I said that, Sean, you heard me say that a million times.
But because our school system has been a failure for a long, long time. I mean, this hasn't just started. When you only graduating 5% of the senior class, that's a big problem right there. And I have to say this, that it is not only goes with our elected officials, but it also goes with the, as I said before, Pastor, the church. The church failure to come out of the church and come into the community. Me and the pastor talked about that earlier, because I'm gonna say this again. When your pastor is living like a king, and his sheep and his flock is starving and in a crime-ridden city, there's something wrong with that.
Well, there's something wrong with that, because it's not about religion. It's not about faith anymore. It's a business.
Yeah, that's what I said.
When it turns into a business, everybody else suffers.
Right.
That's what happens.
Well, we take
religion out of the schools. You take religion out of the home. That's what happens. Home suffers. School suffers. No one believes anymore. No one wants to believe anymore. No one wants to have respect for it anymore. And that's what the problem is. No one wants to say, hey, like my mother and father made me do. I had to go to church.
So
it was no, you can't oversleep. No, get your butt up, get them shoes shining, and get in the church. We were made to go.
I'm going to chime in real quick. Being the young buck of the group, and just to speak on it. And it's I personally feel like it's a culmination of everything you're saying. The schools are set up, or the schools are a failure. The elected leaders are failing us. The community leaders are failing us. The families are failing us. But as far as my brothers, I got to come to the defense of my young black brothers who are the face of the prison population and the face of criminals in this day and age. We're the scapegoats. Poor people have always.
Well, wait a minute. Whoa.
Poor people have always been the scapegoats.
Whoa, wait a minute. Whoa.
Oh no.
They're the ones that are going to go to jail. They're the ones that are going to go to jail, regardless. Poor people.
No. Did you say that?
And now that the majority of the poor people are black and brown.
Oh no.
They're easier to single out.
Wait a minute. How are you a victim? Wait a minute, Sax man. Wait a minute, Sax man. Hold up.
People your age have the same responsibility, have the same opportunities as I had, as Sean had when he was growing up. Ain't nothing changed.
Most of the people my age were raised by heroin addicts and crackheads.
Wait a minute, Sax.
So that's one thing against them. That's one thing going against them right there.
Sax man, wait a minute.
That comes from your generation.
Sax man, hold on. Wait a minute, hold on. Tone, I got a question to ask for you. Okay, I agree with what you just said about them being raised by heroin, crackheads, and the family breakdown. I can go along with that, okay? But how the hell are you a victim when you the one out here doing all the crime, the criminals, and the one raping? You the one raping like a Viking, raping the neighborhood, and
I'm not.
Wait a minute, Sax man. Hold on, Sax man. Hold on. Wait a minute.
People out here
wait a minute, Sax man. Hold on.
And trust me, it's some white people up on Wall Street. They rob you every day. They just not doing it with a gun.
So tell me about how you the victim.
I'm not talking about me specifically.
No,
I'm talking
no,
about my
no.
my
You
generation.
said you were speaking for your generation.
Yeah, my generation.
Okay, I want to know how you a victim when you refused. Wait a minute. Now let me break this down for you, and I want you to answer me responsibly, okay? Because I heard what you said. They didn't hear what you said. I heard what you
They
said.
heard loud and clear.
Okay, so when you drop out of school in the 7th grade,
The school is designed to fail you
wait
already.
a minute. But you chose to drop out. You thought it got too hard. You said, I don't want to study spelling. I'd rather go out and break a window.
No, they,
now,
the people that's dropping out of
wait a
school,
minute.
they're going on to criminal pursuits,
Right,
criminal
right.
enterprise.
So when they get into that criminal,
they're earning their money. They're just
so
doing it.
so when I get a
with lot
hold
more
when I get a hold of
consequences.
his little ass and squeeze his balls and pop
He
that
gotta
that
deal with it.
9 off in
You
him.
gotta deal with it.
Okay, because how
you gotta live by
he
the
ain't a
decisions
victim.
you make.
He ain't a victim.
He is a victim.
He's a victim of both. He ain't a victim until they put him behind that cell and then he get broke down and raped. Then he a victim.
Well,
then you could call him a victim.
If that's the case, then that's most people.
He's a
that happen to.
victimizer. If I go out into the neighborhood raping, pillaging, and grabbing people, stealing shit that's not mine, breaking the law,
Everybody,
disrespect for authority,
First of all, kids,
how am I going to
kids
be a
do
victim?
That, kids that do all that across the board, and I think we talked about this last week.
I
How
wouldn't say
kids
that.
are privileged. Kids are privileged.
Sax
Suburban
man,
kids,
go ahead and
whatever.
have 'em.
Kids, those privileged kids, they get a lot of passes. They get a lot of passes. A lot of the black kids.
Wait
in
a
the
minute, hold
ghetto
on.
don't get
Hold
those-
on,
don't
Sax
get
man.
those passes. They
Okay.
don't get those passes. They very first offense, they going up. They going down for it, and that's going. And
Oh,
it's
okay,
gonna
but now
become-
we
it's
just
gonna
talked
become a
about that.
cycle. It's gonna
Okay,
become a
wait a
cycle.
minute, we just talked about that.
Yeah,
yes.
I want to talk about the cycle of degradation here. Y'all ain't spoke on that yet, and y'all probably don't know what it is.
But go ahead and tell us.
The cycle of degradation, white flight and black plight.
Okay.
The white man leading us into where he wants us to go, and we are following him like sheep that don't know.
But that goes back again to what I said before. It goes back to gentrification and stuff. Go back around. Okay, you have to understand when the village allows young thugs like Tone and Stone.
I'm a reformed thug.
Who want to see? This is like the Viking days. Okay, the haves and have-nots. If I don't have it, I'm gonna go out and get mine. I'm not gonna work hard for it. I'm going to rob
But
and
whatever
steal and
you do,
pillage
you gotta
for it.
have rules, and you gotta have order, and you gotta have morals. Like robbing don't make you an evil person. If you, especially if you take it from somebody.
Are you gonna?
But who you gonna rob? Who you gonna rob?
You got
If you
rules,
robbing,
but
if you
do
snatching old
stick to
lady's
'em?
purse, then you a low life. But if you robbing somebody, a drug dealer, or a crooked cop that's robbing you, because I remember plenty of nights those cops pulling up on the block on 105 and laying the whole block down and taking all the money they could get out of people's
Oh,
pockets.
wait a minute. I want to hear about that. Wait a minute. Hold, Sax man, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, because you know
So
what?
what's that?
Tone the Stone.
those
Tone the
are
Stone.
employees
Hey,
of the city.
a young man. Wait a minute.
Employed to serve and
Wait a
protect,
minute,
and they
Tone.
go into people's pockets. They laying you down and robbing you in broad daylight. Can't nobody do nothing about it.
You hear what Tony Stone said, Sax man?
Let me respond.
No, because you know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right here. And Tone, I'm gonna give you a chance to respond, Sax man. But somebody sent me a video today. I think it was Baltimore. Police officers didn't know that their cameras recycle every 30 seconds and film. And exactly what you just said, a policeman was
Thank God for
planning
the cameras, because in the 90s those didn't exist, and brothers got robbed for thousands of dollars
I'm
every
gonna have to
day.
give them that, because you know what? They sent me that in the chat room, and STMK Radio 100 posted up. The police officer got caught by his own body cam planting drugs on a suspect. So everybody go look at that.
Sean, that's like 1 in 10,000 versus your black community. You got neighborhoods going on, kids in neighborhoods doing robbery every night. Just the other night, it was an armed robbery that was posted on TV. Everyone saw the guy, the Arab dude gave up the money.
Well, Sack, I don't want to defend the robbers or whatever, but it's a difference between a kid that's starving. It's a difference between a kid that's starving, robbing to get some money to eat, than a cop who who earns a decent paycheck robbing you just because.
Well, let me. Well, see, this is where I'm
talking about these
wait,
cops here.
wait a minute. This is where I'm gonna go on both. I'm gonna have to come back around, and we got Florida in the house, Orlando in the house, Tampa, Andre Douglas, Sergeant Douglas. Welcome to Stop the Madness and Facebook Live, YouTube. We got Captain A. Hines, LAPD, Mr. Hines. I'm glad that you're with us because I'm seeing what you're putting there. When you look at this, Tony, they made prisons populations. They made the prison population profitable. So I understand what you said when you said earlier. If you make a mistake, you're going away. Okay, I can deal with that and I can go with that. But that's
if you get busted.
But well, your term like Beretta, it's like Beretta, Pastor. You only gonna go so far. Okay.
But everybody don't get busted. Everybody ain't out there stupid.
But if you get an education, you could be a white
well, it's a roll of the
collar
dice.
crime.
I mean, you know.
Okay, you know, if you get education, you can steal a banker. A banker does the same crime as a person who goes out and with
crime,
a gun.
Yeah, that white collar crime.
A white collar crime. Okay.
I'm talking about these dope dealers, these little reefer dealers out there that
but okay,
because they stupid.
Wait a minute, but let me ask you this question too.
Everybody ain't made for it.
Wait a minute, but let me ask you this question right here. I'm gonna ask you this question, Saxman. I know you with us for a minute, but just hold on because your feed went over. I don't see one person on 105th that brought in no truckload of drugs.
Well, back in the day, I was a small-time reefer dealer and stuff.
Okay, where'd you get your reefer from?
Different people, I know how to find it.
But you didn't bring it in. You didn't bring it across the border. Somebody had to bring it up here.
Yeah, right. But I didn't.
And you had to pay somebody to go get it.
It had
guns.
changed hands
Look at the guns.
Got to you
I
too.
don't see one person on 105th bringing in a box of guns. No. I want to know this, and I'm gonna say this right here because Captain Hines just put a thing. What is the military doing shipping guns on trains through black neighborhoods and letting the trains sit on the side of the road in boxcars?
So they know what they're doing.
Right, because they breaking in there stealing all the guns. Right. That's how all the guns is getting in Chicago. Okay, if the military, if our government is going to leave 100,000 military-style weapons with ammo sitting on the side of a railroad yard in the projects, what you think is going to happen?
Well, that thief had to know they was there, didn't he?
You know they know this bus on there.
But somebody had to tell them, right?
That's Christmas Day for the pirates.
But
they didn't just go
why don't you have
boxcar looking for them?
Right. Why don't you have somebody there guarding it? So that the government has to take some responsibilities for the crime that we have in right now. Police officers are to Tone's thing, you have good police officers, okay? You have bad police officers.
True.
I say bad police officers 3%. Now back in the 60s and 70s, okay. I know. I know. Wait a minute. I know you. I know you would make the difference with that.
Got a gun somewhere around here.
But see, the difference of this is,
his dad was famous
I'm gonna tell you this.
50. What was that?
In my 32 years in law enforcement, I'm gonna say this. I only know 7 law enforcement officers out of the thousands that I work with.
That you would call bad.
No, that was bad, and that went to federal prison for being bad. Okay? That was selling drugs, was robbing drug dealers, was going behind shipments. Okay? I agree with that because the worst thing in the world is a dirty police officer to a police officer with honor. Okay? Because guess what? My life is on the line. Because guess what? I may be undercover, and he may go say, hey, Tom, that guy you just sitting there selling something to is a cop. Okay? If you go back to the shows with Omar and them, that's true. That happens. Right. Okay?
Right.
Now, for every bad police officers get washed with the good police officers. Okay? And when bad police officers get washed with the good police officers, okay, then that's where the problem starts at. Because everybody says everybody's bad. Are you still there, Saxman?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead, Saxman.
7 officers out of how many? 3,000? That was on the department back then.
Right, but that's what I'm trying to tell him.
The ones that went to
3.
jail.
Small percentage.
3%.
That does not amount to the amount of bad officers there were. Those are the ones that went to prison. Those are the ones who went to prison.
But you also have to look at this, Sax man.
So that means they pissed off somebody else that didn't want to cover for him and didn't want to go to bat for him.
Well, see, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna defend my guys in blue, but I'm gonna say this, Tony, and you are correct. For every bad, like today when they send me that video of that policeman, my thing is this: How in the hell you don't know how your video cam, your body cam works?
Stupid, like the good
Okay.
pastor just said.
Okay.
The
So,
drug boys
but,
is
but
stupid.
wait a
Those
minute,
are
wait a
stupid
minute.
cops.
But the difference is this: he has tarnished every police officer across America. Okay, because that's wait a minute, Saxman, hold on. Wait a minute, hold on, Saxman, hold on, Saxman. He has tarnished every police officer across America because that video is going to loop and loop and loop and loop and loop, and they took a person to jail, an innocent person, and put him in jail, and it shows him planning the crack himself and then going to get the crack and the rest of the guy.
This just happened recently.
This happened today in Baltimore.
So you know what the saddest thing about it is, even with the cameras, they're still doing that. And just imagine all the ones that are doing that on a daily basis that don't get caught, who are smart enough to know how their cameras work.
Tone. The problem was he pressed it, he turned it on, thinking he might have turned it off.
No. It's in the 30. He never turned it on. It was in the 30 cycle.
He wasn't smart enough to
it was,
know how
it's
to
in the
get
30
around
cycle.
the camera system.
The camera per Baltimore PD. Matter of fact, I got the statement right here. Hold on, Saxman.
Okay.
Per Baltimore PD, 4 officers, because all 4 of them now getting indicted, not just the one that did it.
Okay.
The other 3 that was with them, all of them is on a suspended, pending investigation of the of the thing. Their cameras operate in a 30-second loop, a continuous 30-second loop. So what that means is that the camera's recording every 30 seconds and it's recording over what it records. So when he went and planted the dope, it record that 30 seconds, and when he turned the cameras on, that's the first 30 seconds that's going to be shown, him planting the dope, going back out to the front. He turned his camera on after he planted the dope. He didn't have the camera on when he was doing it. And that's the problem right here. His evidence, those officers are going to be convicted, all of them going to be convicted on his evidence alone, and that's the body cam.
Why you think all 4 of them gonna get convicted? Because they were all watching when he did it.
Complicity, baby, complicity.
If they're not on camera, if you can't see them on camera watching it,
and I'm gonna say,
there's a chance they get off.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna
He's
say,
going down, but there's a chance they get off.
I'm gonna say this, Tone. You know what really makes me mad? I'm gonna say this because everybody in there, in the chat room and everything, everybody want to say it's white police officers. Okay. The one who planted the drugs, I think, was white, but he had gloves on, I think was white. But guess what? The people that allowed him to do this
Some black officers
are black officers.
Right.
And we just talked about that earlier, what the dissent degree Supreme Court ruled, the reason why they put minority officers, black, females, Hispanics, and all them on the force, so this wouldn't happen and you wouldn't be complicit to it.
Right.
Okay? And that's the problem when we go back.
Right.
Okay? We have forgotten, and it goes back to our community. Law enforcement officers have forgotten what their role is. Minorities have forgotten what their role is in law enforcement. The community has forgotten what their role is in raising our kids and keeping our families. Okay? The church has forgotten its role in the community for educating and properly bringing our kids up under the word of the Lord. See, so that's a failure all the way around.
Well, the parents got to bring them for one thing to get it started.
We don't have
You
parents.
got these cops thinking they can do what they're doing because if the rest of the community is falling apart, ain't nobody gonna pay no attention to them. They feel they can do what they want to get away. Who's gonna complain? Is the rest of the community, and that community that they're patrolling is falling apart. Ain't no big deal. They ain't gonna pay no attention to who they gonna complain to, who they don't know.
Well,
so Sax, are you saying that's the community's fault, or that's the government that hires these police officers to think like that?
It's a failure on all 3.
Administration's fault. That's administration's fault.
Wait a minute, Sax. Wait a minute. No, Sax. I'm gonna say this. It's a failure on all 3. It's a failure on the police officers' fault for the good police officers not policing the bad police officers and throwing them out. Okay, it's just like when you're in the field and you're picking apples or you're picking tomatoes. You don't you get a bad when you throw it out.
Right.
Okay, and that's what police officers have to do right now, like we did in the 80s and the 70s. When you come in, you have to police the police. The bad ones, you got to get them out so your profession can thrive.
And vice versa.
Vice
the community,
versa. The community has to police itself.
Take care.
Sean, whatever happened to a TTIR, man?
Well, see, that's the problem.
What's that, Sax? You gotta break it down for us. We don't all speak the lingo.
Police conduct internal review.
Okay.
Right.
PCIR was police conduct internal review.
Right. Well, the unit's still there. They call it internal affairs now. But Sax, man, we're gonna have to let you go because we got to go pay a bill, and then we're gonna pay this bill, and then we're gonna be right back. But I want everybody to understand this, Tone the Stone. While we was talking about that, is that you cannot just give up on the community as a whole.
Right.
Okay. Everybody has to come into that. You know what I mean?
I
just keep praying for them.
You gotta have faith, and you have to have faith in humanity and society, because you can't think, well, the system's against us. There's no hope. Let's go out and rob and plunder until they take us down. And the police can, and then on the other side, you can never say, well, this community's never going to be good for nothing. Let's just let them kill themselves. You know, you got to have hope, and then the people with hope got to come together and and fix all the problems.
Well, let us go right here, and we're gonna go and pay this bill real quick, and we're gonna be right back.
A great business needs a stunning website, and with Wix.com, you can do it all by yourself. Wix.com makes it easy to look amazing online, no matter what type of business you're in. Show off your images in a beautiful gallery, grow your contact list, and get all your social media in one place, just the way you want. Your customers are going to love it. So, what are you waiting for? Show the world what you can do.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including, what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15%.
At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL9608@yahoo.com. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
STMK Radio 100. You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
Welcome back with us. Welcome back with us, Tone the Stone. We good to see you back here in the studio with us. Doug's been MIA for 2 days. I don't know where our comedian's at, so we're gonna have to watch him and see what's going on with him, Tone.
I think he got deported.
No, you don't think he got deported, do you? I think they might have hung him back there in the woods. They found him in the woods. But pull in a little bit. But Pastor.
Yeah.
We've been talking in Studio 51 with us with Pastor Wayne Francis, And Pastor, you know, you hit on something that I at Great Avenue Senior Baptist Church, when I made my statement, I brought that up, and I made it at our summit for police reform and policing reform and the crime summit and the violence in the community. And I want to say this to my audience, is that you can't be running outside the community, okay? I believe that. 82% of the city employees in the city of Cleveland don't even live in the city of Cleveland.
Right.
And that's the problem with all our resources being taken away from our community, and nothing's being put back in the community. So you have to understand that that's what happened with East Cleveland. Okay, you can't keep taking everything away and not putting nothing back. Income taxes and payroll taxes is not enough for a community. You have to bring responsible homeowners back. You have to bring shopping back. There's nowhere in the city of Cleveland to shop at.
True, and now they acting like they're gonna finally open up that East Side Market. I hope they do. You know, they've been messing around with that for the longest now. And, Bill Patman had held about $700,000 for the rehabbing of that market.
Right, and they should have opened it up. They should have never, because, you know, the poor people have nowhere to go. Everything's out in Willoughby, it's out in the suburbs, and they don't want you out that way. One of the persons in the chat room was just talking about the transformation that Willowick is getting ready to take into, where all the homeowners are moving out because homeowners who couldn't afford their house notes and stuff is renting out to Section 8. So the other homeowners see Section 8 coming in and they're running.
Right.
So
that's what I wanted to talk about too, because I call it white flight and black plight. It's the cycle of degradation, and that's this circle of black people chasing the white man around, and they're coming back to the inner city. I'm still on South Boulevard. Been over there all my life and planning on staying there. I love it over there. I love those cultural gardens, and it's just a beautiful neighborhood.
But that's prime land.
It is.
If you look at East Cleveland is prime land for realtors, especially the west side of the city, where the college just went to west side from Superior, 125th up to Terrace and back. That they just want that area, and that's prime land.
Yes, it is.
And it's already developed. So next week we're going to have Devin Branch, one of the East Cleveland candidates. We're going to try to get him in the studio to talk with him, because I have some serious questions I would like to ask Eric Brewer, Frank Jackson. There's some problems coming up, and first problem that we're going to have coming up is, what are we going to do about East Cleveland, the dump, police reform, okay, our taxes, our neighborhoods is being genocided, okay. They're steadily ripping down houses. How are we going to change this? The crime, okay?
Right.
The main factor, East Cleveland is going to smack our next mayor right in the face, okay? The dump is going to smack our. It's already costing $10 million, okay? Ain't no telling how far that's going to go up. That should have happened. And you know, I'm going to ask that young man about that, because I hear he has some good things to talk about. But even talking about our neighborhoods, if just 5% of the people who graduated from Cleveland schools stayed in the neighborhood or came back into the neighborhoods, we wouldn't have this problem right now.
Right, and I stayed in, when I worked at Tri-C, and I stayed there and retired after 25 years, and I was making really pretty good money there. You know, I probably would be making something like $30-something an hour if I had stayed there, but they forced me out, and I was trying to, somebody tried to encourage me to buy a house out there on Emory and Richmond Road some time ago, but I really didn't like it that much, and you know, I'm on South Boulevard. I'm fairly satisfied there, but I've been trying to please my dear wife, who I've been married to for 50 years, and she wants a new house built over there, and they're building houses, all of them down South Boulevard, and I don't know why we can't build the one she likes. She wants a ranch style. We're too old for climbing up and down stairs anymore, and so we found some people. A black man named Wayne Builders builds these houses, and he got some really nice ones, and we have picked our house out and everything, but they don't want to build in Glenville for some reason.
Well, I can understand that, but you have to remember that's because our mayor. Because Mike White had the investors in the city of Cleveland,
Uh-huh.
and for every home they built to make money, they had to build a house for the city of Cleveland and low-income families, and that built up the neighborhoods, okay, as they was building the houses. And the problem is here, I like one to call it gentrification, and going back around, but actually it's the process of redoing neighborhoods. But in the process of redoing the neighborhoods, moving the people in the community out of that neighborhood,
Right.
okay,
Out into the woods and to the country.
right, back into the old days the way it was. But is this again?
They're trying to get us out the way so that they can get back in the city.
But that has to be your city leaders. Okay, so this is where I tell
and
you.
the white man want to be back down there. They moving back on South Boulevard already.
Well,
they testing it. They all up and down the cultural gardens testing the atmosphere. Oh yeah, I've been checking out coming up and down 105.
But see, I wouldn't put it on a color issue. See, I'm the type of person I don't like to put color in vibe and something, because when you
you and me, I'm colorblind. I've been like that all my life.
When you
I like black women, dark as they can be, and light skin, just as long as they pretty. I don't like no ugly fat women. But
and what you have to look at, I love my healthy BBW sisters. Okay, you know, Sean L love everybody.
There's somebody for everybody. I don't know if you knew Jerome Valentine, but he told me he loved fat women, and he meant it because he had the biggest fat woman over there. You know.
But Tone, but you know what I'm saying is that East Cleveland is a prime example of that was the Rockefeller estate. Look at it now, you couldn't tell. It looked like Germany. It looked like Hitler's estate now after B-52 bombing run. But
what do you know about that North Family Greenway that they put through with the Art Museum of the Cleveland Clinic?
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, you have to understand this. When Cleveland Clinic and the hospitals was coming in and was trying to take all that land, Fannie Lewis and Lonnie Burton stopped them and forced the plan away. But the Cleveland Clinic put their plan in a 50-year plan because they knew Fannie Lewis, Lonnie Burton, and the councilmen that was opposing that will be gone. And you have to look at right now in the health line. Mayor Jackson was getting ready to let them shut Euclid Avenue down after the taxpayers put almost $78 million through there. The only thing to stop that, Obama told the city, just like they told them on the square, that they had to reimburse the federal government if they was going to do that, millions of dollars. So when you look at the 57 mayoral election, I think it's time to look at some of these young people, look at some of the things they're talking about, because if the city government is not going to look out after us, then we need to change it. And when I tell all my young people that elections have consequences. That's why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, okay? We put him in there and we gave him the keys to the car. They're going to wreck it again, okay? That's like if I let my 5-year-old son go outside by himself and he goes over to the garden and tear all the flowers out, okay?
Yeah.
I did that, okay? So you have to understand, gerrymandered. Everything starts at the state level, okay? Everybody don't understand this. The people in Washington don't get there unless they come through the state level, okay? So that means we have to put responsible people in the state house, in the mayor's house, the police house, the councilman's house, the neighborhood, okay? The precinct person.
That's can we really control the elections? Because it seems to me there's some crooked going on with these elections.
You know how you control the election? I'm going to say this again, and everybody has to understand. Back in the 60s and stuff, when they didn't want us to vote, they had poll taxes. They had, you had to take a test. My test might be, quote, the Constitution. A white person's come in and they might just have to tell somebody what 2 + 2 is, okay? But the difference is, if the village sit down and educate everyone to be a responsible voter, okay, I don't care what poll tax they put there. If I tell my kids to go to school and get education, and I keep them in school to get education, then I don't care what roadblock you put up, okay? I'm from the 60s, okay? There's people before me weren't allowed to go to school. They couldn't go into school, okay? They was getting hung for going in school, okay? When my grandmother told me, you going to school, we went to school. My grandmother told me, you're going to learn, we learned. My mama and daddy, they didn't play that, okay? And look what happened, okay? My sister is a bank president, okay? Vice president of a bank, okay? Everybody's responsible. You cannot stop a person with education.
Right.
Barack Obama, he's
Education
a constitutional.
is power.
He's a constitutional scholar.
Yeah.
The first black president.
Yep.
He did something nobody else could do. He gave America health care. Whether you like it or not, because we know why health care is failing, okay? Because they fought him all the way. It wasn't no compromise. But he's a constitutional scholar. And what he did was he gave them all of the good stuff of their plan. That's why they can't get rid of it. That's
they
why
need to leave it alone.
They can't even they can't even repeal it or get rid of it. You know why? They can't even replace it because it's their plan. It's all the good of that plan. There's nothing else to replace it except single payer. And single payer is what Canada got. And we'd never go to single payer because if we go to single payer, that means the insurance companies and the CEOs can't get paid. Okay? Barack Obama knew that. Okay? That's why right now the Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, and all they need is 51 votes. They don't even need a Democrat to vote on anything, and they can't pass a bill.
It seems like the Republicans even coming against Trump.
Right, because you know why? Trump has to understand he only won with a third of America. And that third of America, and I'm not going to say everybody, so let me put this around for you because I see them in the chat room, but majority of them practice hate. Hate is only going to go so far. Come 2018, if you don't, they may be 90 people, 70 people, percent of the people vote. Okay, if 70% of the people vote or voted when they were supposed to, Trump wouldn't be in office right now. Okay, when you say you got to vote for the lesser of two evil, that makes you evil yourself.
What is it going to take to impeach him? Because I mean,
he can't be impeached.
Why not?
I'm going to tell you right now. Let me say this right here.
He's gonna get dragged away in handcuffs.
No, he's not going to get dragged away in handcuffs because you have to look at this. You gave me the keys to the house. You gave me my brother in the backyard, my father in the front yard, and my wife is inside cooking. Can't nobody else come in the house unless I let them. Okay? 2018, hashtag, I want everybody to understand this, hashtag 2018, get out and vote. Okay? That's the only thing that's going to change Trump. And you won't see no indictments come down until 2020. In 2020, I see his son going to jail for treason and money laundering. Okay? I see his son-in-law going to jail for treason, money laundering, Paul Manafort, Jeff Sessions, all the way down. And the only way they're going to get Trump, if somebody, because you can't indict a sitting president, but you can indict one out of office. See the Constitution written. But the problem is, Trump's the president. He has the right now. He could pardon everybody. Okay? Now, if he did pardon everybody, we might see a revolution. But I want everybody on Facebook, Snapchat, hey, Reverend Francis, Pastor Francis. I keep calling him Reverend because I'm from the old school. It's traditional. But I'd like to thank you for being with us. We're going to want you to come back with us on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Tone the Stone. Maybe Doug, maybe Doug, if you're watching us, Doug, maybe you will come back to work and talk with us. But everybody, it's that time.
Fan base is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to move, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the rainbow down the yellow brick road, please believe at the end ain't no pie to go. There's some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Well, everybody, it's that time almost that we have to get ready to go down the road. In the red room, we had Pastor Wayne Francis. We're going to have you come back with us, Wayne. We appreciate you being with us. We appreciate you giving us a word of wisdom. We appreciate that prayer that you gave us earlier. And, Wayne, what you want to say to Facebook Live, YouTube, and Internet Radio, go ahead. You got it.
I love to say that. I think I said things right, but my wife said I said something wrong, and I apologize. I'm not sure what I said because I'm always sticking my foot in my mouth and getting in trouble with my big mouth. but I do apologize, and I hope I didn't really offend anybody. But the truth must be told.
Well, that's why we call Stop the Madness, Keep It
All right.
100. Tone the Stone sitting over there in the pilot chair. Tone, tell us what's up. What's up?
Piloting because I'm fly. Pastor, you know, that's the gift and the curse. That big mouth, that truth. That's our gift and our curse. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's what people need to hear, and
Right.
sometimes it comes back and sting us a little
It
bit.
sure
But that's
do.
all it do is sting a little bit. Everybody else out there, stop being stupid. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
And one thing I got to say, me and my wife, we do believe in don't go to bed angry at each other. So
Well,
we'll
that's the way
be
it's supposed to be.
Amen.
Facebook Live, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. We thank you for being with us on our social media outlet. I'm your host, Sean L. Next week, we're going to have a young man, one of my alumni brothers from Shaw High School. We're going to try to get Devin here. He's running for East Cleveland mayor. We also got a alumni running for Cleveland mayor. We're going to talk about some more issues, and we educate our listeners. So when you listen to us, you will be educated. To that young man, Economic Mob out of Arizona, thank you for calling in, because, boy, you really was on point. I'm your host, Sean L., and as always, peace, love, and happiness.
Shalom.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio